Hi everybody, I'm Pat Hall and I'm the quality manager here at Luxfer Riverside. And we're here to talk today about the Eclipse cylinder and how to do inspection and repair for any damage. One of the things that sets the Eclipse line of cylinders apart from the traditional fiberglass overwrap cylinders is the Eclipse cylinder doesn't require any fiberglass overwrap. Traditional fiberglass wrap cylinders were sometimes hard to determine whether or not you had damage at level 2 or level 3 and whether the cylinder should be condemned or not. I have with me today a sample cylinder that has simulated damage on it that we can use for showing how to inspect the various levels of damage, how to take measurements, and how to do repair. So let's talk a minute about what the damage levels are. There are 3 damage levels for a composite cylinder. Level 1 damage is damage that is only cosmetic. It's below the threshold for needing any repair. Level 2 is where you have damage to a cylinder that will require repair, and repairs after being done need to be seeing the cylinder be hydro tested and then assessed to make sure that the repair is held. Level 3 damage is damage that would have the cylinder condemned because it penetrates too far into the carbon fibers for the cylinder to retain its strength and would affect the cylinder's service life. Any cylinder with level 3 damage would have to be condemned and disposed of. So I'm going to be using a digital depth gauge for doing the measurements. If you're using one yourself, you're going to want to grind the end of it to a point. You want to be sure that you get to the bottom of any cuts or impact, and grinding this to a point is going to help you to do that. So to measure depth, first thing you want to do is take the gauge and you want to go just off to one side of the damaged area, and then you want to be able to zero that gauge out. So this gives you a reference point of an undamaged area, so that you can get the depth from that point later when you actually do the depth measurement. Then you want to take the gauge and actually go into the damaged area. In this case, it's a cut. And you want to take a reading. So in this case, this is about only 0.02 of an inch deep. So this would be considered level 1 damage. Moving over, again, I'm going to zero that out right next to the cut. And I'm going to take a measurement. That's 0.22 of an inch deep. So that would classify as level 2 damage. And finally, moving over to the level 3, I've already got a good zero there. I'm going to take a measurement. That's 46 thousandths of an inch. All right, so now we're going to talk about the epoxy repair process. So let me get our sample cylinder off to the side here, and I can show the epoxy mixing. So for this, you're going to need a 2-part epoxy resin system. This is a 5-minute curing epoxy resin that you can find at most home improvement stores and other places. You'll need a tin or something to mix it in, and a stir stick. So I'm going to go ahead and dispense the epoxy resin into the tin. This comes out pre-measured, so all you have to do is push down on the plunger and you get equal parts of resin and hardener. And just take the stir stick and mix it together for 15 to 20 seconds or so until you see a kind of a consistent mixture where the resin and hardener are fully blended, and you get a little bit of air in there too, but it kind of turns into a milky white kind of looking substance when you've got it fully mixed. And there you go, that's all mixed and ready to go. Okay, so now we're set to do the repair. So the first thing we're going to want to do for the area that needs to be repaired is to do a light sand. So you may recall this was our level 2 cut in the sample cylinder. So take a piece of sandpaper. I happen to be using 180 grit. Anything 180 grit or finer will work fine for this. And you really want to just sand the area right around the actual area to be repaired. You probably want to go about 1/4 of an or 1/2 inch on either side. This gives a rough surface that the epoxy will actually adhere to, so that way after you do repair, you won't have to worry about the epoxy coming up again. Now that we have the area all ready to be repaired, I've got some of the epoxy we mixed up just a minute ago. I'm just going to place it right into the cut. I'm going to actually use the stick here to kind of press that epoxy right into that area. So you really want to make sure you drive the epoxy all the way into the damaged area. So that's a repaired cylinder. That's needs to set up for about 5 to 10 minutes until the epoxy has set and become tack-free. But remember, it takes about 24 hours to fully cure. And once that's fully cured, you need to do a hydro test of the cylinder to make sure that this repair is going to hold.